So I am with,
Christensen.
and that's all I'm going to say about yourself?
I do computer programming work, and I've also spent a few years being an agile coach for a few different companies.
And we'll get to your second talk in a moment, because that one was the fun one. The title and the description was priceless. We'll get to that in a moment. So your first talk, the one you're doing today, is on Clojure, right?
Yep.
Clojure.
Up to you.
It's up to the person.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to the guy who wrote it.
I think the official one is Clojure.
I think you're right.
Okay. So what is Clojure?
Clojure is a, well, not brand new, but relatively new. I mean, I guess it's been around for about 2-3 years now. Dialect of Lisp, actually, originally targeted at the Java virtual machine, but is under active development being ported to the CLR environment. Mm-hmm. So my understanding is that you can run Clojure.net. I have to admit, I come from mainly a Java background, so I just haven't had an opportunity to play with that.
Okay.
But, it's pretty exciting.
So what's the appeal of Clojure?
To me, the appeal of Clojure is that I've always been really in love with Lisp as a programming language, both for sort of the purity of its syntax as a functional programming language, but also because of the facilities it provides for syntactic abstraction via its macro facility, which sort of feel unparalleled to me in other languages.
Okay.
I think that Ruby and Python and some others sort of they might be a good enough Lisp, and they provide a lot of the same functional features, but nothing can really touch the kind of syntactic level metaprogramming that you can do in Lisp. And so Clojure is a Lisp that you can actually use in everyday environments. And in fact, at my last gig, one of the primary components of the application was being done in Clojure, in fact.
Okay. Now you mentioned Lisp and Clojure being kind of like a dialect or version of somewhat of Lisp, taking a lot of cues from Lisp.
Yep.
And I know that you had done a talk at the Languages User Group on ARC a year or two ago, which is also another Lisp dialect. And you had mentioned that the Lisp community in general seems to be kind of quote unquote interesting. What would you say the Clojure community is like?
I think it might be too soon to tell. I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. It feels a little bit like it's being hijacked by consulting firms a little bit.
Okay.
Which makes me nervous. However, having said that, the people who are active in the Clojure community on Google groups and whatnot, including the consultants who are hijacking it, are super helpful.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a different vibe than the old school comp playing Lisp, where if you have, where I once read a thread where somebody asked a basic common Lisp question, and the dude's response, who was kind of a leader in that community, was to give him a piece of Lisp code that would have reformatted his hard drive had he run it. So it's not the common Lisp community is not quite so friendly, and the Clojure community, the Clojure community seems to have consciously made an effort to try and stay away from the old school common Lisp community as much as possible, which is good and bad in some respects, because I think they're also relearning a lot of lessons that I think a lot of gray hairs in the common Lisp community could just lay out for these guys if they let them.
Speaking of gray hairs, I remember working with you years ago. We both got more than we used to.
And more poundage.
Thanks. Move on to the other topic. The agile talk you're doing, which I don't remember the actual paragraph that you put in, but I remember laughing hysterically when I saw it because it was extremely curt and sarcastic. And I know that it would be fair to say that the ideas and the spirit of agile are things that you like, but the way you talk about hijacking the community with agile, that a lot of it's been turned into something that is going right back to what agile was trying to prevent.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like it's almost inevitable in any movement. You know, there's sort of this revolution, and people glom onto it because they're looking for something better and exciting and something that will allow them to sort of succeed. And then it grows moss and starts to slow down and calcify and die in some way. And so it's tough for me because I still feel really strongly and passionately about the underlying values and principles. It just feels like something that's kind of starting to swerve off the road.
Okay.
Or maybe already has swerved off the road.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can pick on one branch in particular, since I don't know if anybody's going to watch this.
Oh yeah, a couple people.
Well, it's okay. You know, like
Speak your mind. Speak your mind.
like this. I mean, if the Scrum Alliance in particular, I mean, there's this notion of like certified Scrum Masters, and certified Scrum Masters are certified by certified Scrum trainers. Certified Scrum trainers spend 5 digits per year to keep their Scrum or certified Scrum trainer certification alive.
Wow.
Now, on my planet, that's called a pyramid scheme. But
yeah.
you know, a lot of folks have made a lot of money off of it. Whether or not it's actually benefited a lot of people, I think, is a harder question to answer.
Okay.
So I'm both passionate and hopeful for what can still come out of that movement or community, but also very cynical about kind of what has happened with it. It's hard for me to disagree with any of its detractors at this point.
Okay. Last question before bringing it back to Twin Cities Co-Camp. You've spoken, or spoke, SPAC, whatever.
What's SPAC?
SPAC. Okay, we'll use that. You presented at previous co-camps. What's one thing that you like about maybe Twin Cities co-camps, or just the co-camp idea?
I like that it's I like that what you guys have done. It's really organic. I like that it's really programmer centric. I mean, I think that there's plenty of things for project managers and for the business folks at large. Maybe not as much valuable stuff as there could be, but there. Usually, if as a programmer, if you want to go see some really great conference, it normally involves getting on a plane and spending a lot of money. And I feel like that you guys have done a really great job of bringing something to this community that doesn't cost much money or really anything, I think, for the participants, and yet really adds, and yet really delivers a lot of value.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Kurt.
Thanks for having me.